Donald Trump didn't create racists. He didn't create white supremacy. He didn't create bigotry and xenophobia.
You see, in this country, and again, this might hurt some people's feelings, but y'all know me. I deal in a level of honesty here. But let's just be 100% honest, shall we? America's problem has always been the idea of superior versus inferior. It's always been that way. Always. It is in our bones. It's in our DNA.
You won't believe this. A white guy calling out Donald Trump and Americans who are complaining about the challenges that Donald Trump is causing to America. Now, I came across this clip on TikTok where this white guy was complaining and saying that there is no need for whites in the United States to complain about Trump doing this or Trump being a racist because Trump is a reflection of the American society. Many people reacted to this clip that he was making, and the views that came out are quite interesting. I wanted to watch this compilation of clips that I've made, then we shall talk in the end.
So many videos of people that look like me saying, I miss what the people were before Trump. We don't know how many times I have to say this, but I'm going to keep saying it. Donald Trump didn't create racists. He didn't create white supremacy. He didn't create bigotry and xenophobia. Donald Trump is a black light on the United States of America. The one good thing that came from Vice President Harris losing is that it showed us out in the open, from the shadows, from the closets, from the darkness, who these people are in our lives that are these people. It said, this is what America truly is. So we have a choice. We can continue to put our heads in the sand and act like this isn't who we are. We can listen to MSNBC and Fox Lies and OAN and CNN and whatever hell else other news station you want to listen to. And they can say in their fancy suits, Harvard University people, America, this isn't who we are. The hell it isn't. It's who we've always been. We've just refused to admit it. We are a racist country. And a lot of people that we thought were good people, they're not. They voted for a white man that abuses women, that's a convicted felon, that has dinner with white nationalists, who didn't rent to black people, who questioned the birth of our first black president, who steals from cancer charities, who's such a pathetic excuse for a human that he cheats on his wife, that caused an insurrection, whose officers have long-term disabilities, who filed 6 bankruptcies. America's about to be its 7th.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Well, I'm hoping that you're doing great from wherever you're watching me from. As you know, I'm your host and presenter Eugene Duke Stories. Well, I'm hoping that you're doing fine from wherever you're watching me from. I have something important to discuss with you today. White people comes out and claims that they are the reason as to why America is declining, right? But you find it that's really important, seeing a white person coming out and confessing that really they are the ones who are responsible for making the America to decline. Why is that so? It's because the voices inside them, from experiences, from things, from privileges that they've been having, right, makes them look back and say that, damn, we have been having this, but we made a mistake because we didn't consider this disease, and the disease was spreading, and right now it has touched the whole body. The body is the United States, and right now it is at the full-blown stage. And now people are looking back and saying that, who really caused the problem? White people are coming out and saying that it is us, the ones we caused all this problem. And right now, the United States is declining. When a white individual publicly acknowledges that white supremacy is the root of America's decline, this signals a critical moment of internal reckoning. But you need to know that such voices are rare but powerful because they challenge the myth of racial innocence amongst white Americans. The self-critique breaks from a long tradition of denial and deflection, directly confronting how systemic racism and the prioritization of whiteness have shaped the nation's institution. By placing responsibility squarely on the shoulders of those who have wielded power. This figure does not seek to be congratulated, but they seek to disrupt the comfort zone that has protected white Americans from facing the consequences of their collective actions. Yeah, facing the consequences of their collective actions. While it's true, not all white people operate the same. We have good white people. But again, we need to recognize that the fact that we having majority of them who are making all these decisions that are affecting like everyone today, for instance, and this is a perfect example that I've been using. People had the right, and people had the chance or opportunity of changing our situations in the United States, but they didn't do that. What did they do? Instead, they decided to vote for fascism. They decided to vote for deportation. They decided to vote for high cost of living. All these are leading to the Americans' decline. All way long before that, they benefited from the very system that right now is turning against them. Let's watch the video. I'll be back, and then I'll be sharing my thoughts at the end of it all. Buckle up for this video. I'll be back.
They said, no, we don't want the black woman. We're going to stay with the plantation owner. They did the same thing in 2016. There's a reason that we've never had a woman president in 249 years. Misogyny, sexism. And the hard truth that nobody wants to talk about on the news is that part of this country, they traded in their white hoods for a red hat. And their orange daddy, their plantation owner, said, don't hide anymore. Don't be ashamed of being a racist, a white supremacist. Do it in the open. Stand with me. I'll make you feel like it's okay. And part of this country could not stomach a black man sitting behind the Resolute desk in the White House that was built by slaves. So they went back in 2016 to what they know, the plantation owner. And they did the same thing in 2024. There was one small bump in the road with President Biden in 2020. This is who America is. So we have two options. Like I said before, we can put our heads in the sand and act like this isn't who I am. We can be shocked and awe. We can clutch our pearls. We're better than this. No, we're not better than this. Option two is we can address it finally. Finally, we can address the original sin of this country. That it was designed by racist founding fathers that owned slaves to benefit 21-year-old landowning white men and every demographic that doesn't fit into their bigoted, misogynistic, xenophobic, racist point of view has never been treated as equal. This is our time to finally take it down, to tear it down. That's the path that I'm going. Yeah, the waters are going to be rough. They're going to be bumpy. It's going to be a storm. We're going to have 40 and 50-foot swells. But I've seen enough history to know that when people sit on the sidelines because it doesn't affect them, that's not actual change. The change comes is when we decide to stand up for issues and for our neighbors when it doesn't directly affect us. And for far too long, this country has done that. During Jim Crow, during women's suffrage, during Asians being put in internment camps, the Native Americans. Hell, we took the land from the Hawaiians. And we sat by. And now we go, that's not who we are. It's who we've always been. I'm on the side.
In order for the United States of America to get out of the mess that it has always been and to begin to start to live up to the ideals that it has always espoused, white people are going to have to tear down white supremacy. They're going to have to face this nation's storied past when it comes to racism and the black community. That means acknowledging chattel slavery and its devastating effect on the black community to begin with, and then making reparations for that harm, acknowledging that this nation is racist, and they will have to take a look in the mirror and acknowledge their own conscious and unconscious bias and racism. That's not going to happen. And I'm going to address this specifically to so-called white liberals and progressives. They, just like white conservatives and white overt racists and MAGA, are all of the same group. They are the privileged class in this country. And when you have lived your entire existence being part of the privileged class, being comfortable, the very idea of not being comfortable, that is unthinkable to them. You all have heard the term white fragility. That's a very real phenomenon. Think about how they react when their racism is called out. And I'm referring to white liberals and white progressives. It's like you have punched them in the face 1,000 times by calling out their racism. And the bottom line is that black folk, we did not create racism. We didn't create the social constructs of race, but we still have to deal with the effects of those constructs. But we are not able to tear that down. White folks are going to have to do it. And I know I sound cynical, they're not about to do that. As long as they can march, as long as they can do their online activism, as long as it doesn't cost them anything, they're cool with it. But I saw a creator on here and his takes are brilliant. And he laid out a pretty accurate strategy for fighting against a felon in chief. And that is for white people who did not vote for him, who labeled themselves progressives and liberals, to boycott the ones that are conservative and MAGA morons and racist. And that really is the only way that this nation can ever pull itself out of the trash bin that it's in. But that won't happen. I hope I'm proven wrong, but I doubt it, you all. They have been privileged for far too long. Remember earlier this year when they had their protest and they were asking about bounce houses and food trucks and having picnics? They will protest in a way that does not cost them anything and that will secure their comfort. That is why they don't confront the racist within their own family. Well, you know, little June and little Jill's grandfather and grandmother, we just can't upset them. That is, they are their grandparents. Well, we just can't go against mom and dad and be disinherited. That's a major one. Who's going to pay for our college education? Who's going to pay our mortgage? Who's going to give us a down payment on a house? Who's going to give us the startup money for our businesses that we want to start? We can't rock that boat. Do you see what I'm saying? Comfort. They are comfortable. You can't disturb their comfort. That's why they keep talking about peaceful protest. That very term, peaceful protest, is an oxymoron. When you have effective protest, you are disrupting the normal flow of operations to make a point. That is the point of protesting. So, yeah, I am not holding my breath about white liberals and progressives actually putting their money figuratively and literally where their mouth is. Because again, that comfort that they have, they don't want to give that up, y'all. In order for the United States of America to get out of the mess that it has always been and to begin to start to live up to the ideals that it has always espoused, white people are going to have to tear down white supremacy. They're going to have to face this nation's storied past when it comes to racism and the black community. That means acknowledging chattel slavery and its devastating effect on the black community to begin with, and then making reparations for that harm, acknowledging that this nation is racist, and they will have to take a look in the mirror and acknowledge their own conscious and unconscious bias and racism. That's not going to happen. And I'm going to address this specifically to so-called white liberals and progressives. They, just like white conservatives and white overt racists and MAGA, are all of the same group. They are the privileged class in this country. And when you have lived your entire existence being part of the privileged class, being comfortable, the very idea of not being comfortable, that is unthinkable to them. You all have heard the term white fragility. That's a very real phenomenon. Think about how they react when their racism is called out. And I'm referring to white liberals and white progressives. It's like you have punched them in the face 1,000 times by calling out their racism. And the bottom line is that black folk, we did not create racism. We didn't create the social constructs of race, but we still have to deal with the effects of those constructs. But we are not able to tear that down. White folks are going to have to do it. And I know I sound cynical. They're not about to do that. As long as they can march, as long as they can do their online activism, as long as it doesn't cost them anything, they're cool with it. But I saw a creator on here, and his takes are brilliant. And he laid out a pretty accurate strategy for fighting against a felon in chief. And that is for white people who did not vote for him, who label themselves progressives and liberals, to boycott the ones that are conservative and MAGA morons and racist. And that really is the only way that this nation can ever pull itself out of the trash bin that it's in. But that won't happen. I hope I'm proven wrong, but I doubt it, you all. They have been privileged for far too long. Remember earlier this year when they had their protest and they were asking about bounce houses and food trucks and having picnics? They will protest in a way that does not cost them anything and that will secure their comfort. That is why they don't confront the racist within their own family. Well, you know, little June and little Jill's grandfather and grandmother, we just can't upset them. That is, they are their grandparents. Well, we just can't go against mom and dad and be disinherited. That's a major one. Who's going to pay for our college education? Who's going to pay our mortgage? Who's going to give us a down payment on a house? Who's going to give us the startup money for our businesses that we want to start? We can't rock that boat. Do you see what I'm saying? Comfort. They are comfortable. You can't disturb their comfort. That's why they keep talking about peaceful protest. That very term, peaceful protest, is an oxymoron. When you have effective protest, you are disrupting the normal flow of operations to make a point. That is the point of protesting. So, yeah, I am not holding my breath about white liberals and progressives actually putting their money figuratively and literally where their mouth is. Because again, that comfort that they have, they don't want to give that up, y'all. In order for the United...
I implore you to go back and watch that brother's video because I do not want to impact or I do not want to overstep on the impact of what he said. And me being the cynical human being that I am, I wanted to caveat off of it. You see, in this country, and again, this might hurt some people's feelings, but y'all know me. I deal in a level of honesty here. But let's just be 100% honest, shall we? America's problem has always been the idea of superior versus inferior. It's always been that way. Always. It is in our bones. It's in our DNA. I've often said that a person who can tell me how great this country is and have never left it, you have no frame of reference for anything that you're talking about. At all. None. How in the hell can you possibly say this is the greatest country on earth when you've never left it? You've never been to other countries. And there are people who go to other countries and act as superior to the people in those countries they visit than anything. America's apathy and arrogance has always gotten us to where we are right now. You tack on the other A's, which is atrocities and amnesia. We'll do some heinous shit and we'll forget about it. And you get a stew for exactly why America is where it is today. And the problem is we're not learning. We're not. We have literally a multiverse full of information. And people are choosing to be stupid. They are choosing it. This is an active choice. An active choice. They are saying in non-simple terms, hey, I choose to be dumb. And that is a problem. That is a problem. And yes, race has a lot to do with it. I know a lot of people don't like talking about it, but it's true. You have to look at the totality of the picture in order to understand it. Race has a very, very big problem, a very big part in why America is the way it is today. And it's the reason I really want you to go back and watch this brother's video. The problem when it comes to putting these things in charge of the Caucasian majority is this. A lot of them don't like change. They don't. The reason nothing gets torn down is because they're comfortable with it. They think somehow it's going to eventually benefit them. And it never does. It never does. We've had generation after generation after generation of Caucasian people being born. And this idea of their superiority has never given them anything. It never has. If you notice, the Patriot Front boys march on the street for intimidation. Whereas the Heritage Foundation ain't put up a march yet. They don't have to. They don't. They have the one thing these Patriot Front dumbasses don't, which is power. Political power, financial power, religious power. They have power. They don't have to do those things. So how much is this right-wing ideology benefiting those guys in them dumbass khaki pants and those masks? It isn't. It isn't benefiting them at all. They talk about the greatness of this country and how many white men built it. The problem with that is they're not the white men that did. And the white men that they're revering didn't do it either. They were just in charge of it. That was it. That's all. They never built anything. They were just in charge of building. Now, I say all that to say this. You cannot ask somebody to tear down something that, number one, makes them comfortable, and number two, they don't recognize. I want you to think about it. Soldiers on America's largest military base, Fort Bragg, bought necklaces with little credit cards on them that says, white privilege trumps everything. They bought those things. Why did they buy them? Because right now they think they are superior. They feel superior to everyone. They have a president that will bolster that feeling. Won't give them any truth. Truth? Pfft, no. But he will give them the ideal that they are superior now. He'll give it to them. And what do these guys lose in return? What do they lose in return? Dignity? They don't notice. Security? They don't notice that one either. It gives them nothing. It gives them nothing. And it takes from them everything. But do you think we can get them to understand that? No. No, we can't. It's too ingrained. A lot of the boomers now, a lot of the boomers that we have right now, I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them have this mentality not only around race, but around work ethic, around social norms, as if they forgot the tumultuous 60s that they grew up in and how much literally America was fighting with itself, whether to remain in this pre-Civil War mentality or to embrace a world of diversity. And now you see the result. They keep wanting to go back to that. They keep wanting to go back to that. How do you fight that? How do you fix that? You can't. You can't. To ask people within marginalized communities to fix a problem that lies solely within the white majority now is ridiculous. But I've been hearing it. I've been hearing it my whole life. I hear it especially here since I've been on TikTok, since I've been a social commentator and sitting in front of cameras and things of that nature. They're always telling us to fix a problem we did not create, we did not invent, we did not cultivate, and it never benefited us. And then they get these poor, overworked, underpaid, po-ass Caucasians amongst the rest of us to be their mouthpieces. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? Where I'm going to have your ass fighting a battle I won't fight. People like the Heritage Foundation and Club for Growth and the Chamber of Commerce, evangelical Christian conservatism, they all want us to remain where we are because any inkling forward means a lessening of their power. How do you fight that? How? How do you fight that? How do you even begin to fight that? You can't. You can't. We are asking Caucasian people in America to do something that they have never been asked to do in their life, and a lot of them are incapable of doing it, which is tearing down, first off, just looking at the systems that were put in place and how much they benefited you. We can't even get them to do that, let alone actually wanting to dismantle it. No. And the powerful is not going to let them do it even if they wanted to. Even if they wanted to, which they don't. So we have these conversations over and over and over and over and over. We end up going into circles over and over and over and over and over. Go to any live on TikTok or on Instagram or whatever where this subject is being debated and it's never fixed because there's always somebody that wants to stop forward progress because they feel uncomfortable. Please go back and watch that brother's video. Please. The only way we're going to fix America is if, in the words of Eddie Glade Jr., we get white people to finally let go of whiteness, embrace humanity, embrace diversity, embrace the idea of a rising tide lifts all boats. And more importantly, and the biggest one of all, erasing the superiority that a lot of white Americans think they have. You're not superior. You have a lack of melanin and a power structure that was built by people that look like you, not you, but people that look like you, to benefit themselves. You just so happen to be a byproduct of it. When you embrace humanity, you can tear that down. But as long as you're embracing whiteness, it's not really a priority to you.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. As you know, I'm your host and presenter Eugene Stories. Well, I'm hoping that you're doing great from wherever you're watching me from. Let's talk about the historical choice of greed over justice. The critique that white Americans chose greed, meaning money and capitalism, over justice is historically accurate. From the genocide of indigenous people for land to the transatlantic slave trade for economic profit, the nation's foundation was built on extracting wealth through violence. Even after slavery, systems like convict leasing, redlining, and labor exploitation were designed to sustain white economic advantage. The white voice is pointing out that the pursuit of green and fatted capitalism was prioritized over building a just, equitable society. Black people have long been scapegoated for America's problem. But the truth is that greed and racial division have always worked hand in hand. Yes, it has always been about greed. I mean, look at the Bacons Rebellion. They used division to push their greed. And since white folks subscribed to the greed, they decided to divide themselves and left black folks. Remember, we had poor whites, poor blacks who were working on the farm. How did the elite came? The elite came and said that, you know what, we can give you greatness. We can make you not work just like they work. Or if you work, we are paying you, but then we are not paying them. Since they subscribed for greed, now they are living with the consequences. They're living with the consequences of first trying to believe that they are not great as they thought they were. The cognitive dissonance that they live with every day, thinking that all about greatness that they were told was a lie, is now looming and really, really evident. I like to talk about racism as a tool of national sabotage. White supremacy didn't just hurt black people, it sabotaged the nation's potential. Every time America invested in segregation instead of education, in prisons instead of communities, and in tax cuts for the wealthy instead of infrastructure, it adds its own stability. This white whistleblower is essentially revealing that racism was not only morally wrong, but strategically self-destructive. It distracts the working class, drained resources, and fostered division when unity was needed. Rather than building a robust multiracial democracy, America has chosen racial hierarchy, and now it's reaping the consequences. Polarization, institutional decay, and international embarrassment. Yeah, today all those people that thought that America was great, like, it really didn't. And if you want to know that it wasn't, that they make America great again, is all a lie. Because if it was great, bringing it back to its greatness couldn't be a problem, right? But since it was built and made through the pain of others, or making wrong decisions, or making decisions because of greed, remember, it can never happen, or it can never be the same. I'm also going to be talking about black people as the historical moral conscience. By stating that black people are innocent in the decline of the America, the speaker taps into a deeper truth. Yes, black Americans have always fought for the nation's highest deals, even when excluded from them, from Frederick Douglass and Sojourner Truth, or Martin Luther King Jr. and Angela Davis. Black leadership has consistently pushed America towards justice. It is ironic and profoundly unjust that the people who labored without pay died in America's war and protested peacefully for civil rights and still being blamed for the nation's problem. This white critique is finally echoing what black thinkers have long said. America's soul has been preserved, not damaged by black resistance. And this is true. Anytime you see a white person come out and talk about black fatigue, they're tired of black people, how black people in the hood are behaving or anything, remember, this is all about deflection from making you and guilt tripping. It's about deflection and guilt tripping. It's about making you feel like you're the ones who are causing all this chaos in the United States. Well, they are the ones who are computerizing all these things, right? I'm going to be talking about the delusion of whiteness as a saving identity. One of the most damaging myths in American history is that whiteness alone grants safety, superiority, and success. White Americans were taught to identify with elites who did not share their interest, simply because of racial proximity. The allegiance to whiteness over class solidarity or moral truth has been exploited for centuries. The speaker is acknowledging that the delusion has costed white America dearly. It traded its critical thinking, empathy, and collective power for the false comfort of supremacy. Now that the economy is crumbling, democracy is faltering, and the truth in institution is eroding, whiteness is proving to be insufficient shield. When you have a place that is being run by white supremacy, you get to know that the decisions are not going to be logic. The decisions are not going to be logical. The decisions are going to be according to class, whether it's right or whether it's wrong. Let's talk about the legacy of denial and cultural arrogance. Part of what this white critique confronts is the deep cultural arrogance that prevented white America from listening. Warnings from Black people, scholars, indigenous leaders, Latino activists, and even global voices were consistently ignored or dismissed. The arrogance of American exceptionalism, a belief rooted in racial and cultural superiority, meant that self-correction was never possible. Even now in 2025, America faces cascading crises: gun violence, unaffordable healthcare, failing schools, and fractured political system. These are not accidental. They are direct outcomes of refusing to listen, to learn, and to evolve. And it is true, while we're seeing white people indictment, it is really clear. The fall came from within, not from the communities white America tried to suppress. Just think about it. I'm also going to be talking about greed, militarism, and the betrayal of common good. America's military-industrial complex, mass incarceration industry, and deregulation finance sector are all products of this allegiance to profit over people. As Whiteman points out, the obsession with green has hollowed out the middle class and destroyed public trust. Trillions are spent on wars and surveillance, while infrastructure collapses and people live paycheck to paycheck. Meanwhile, Black communities are still waiting for the 40 acres and a mule that they were promised centuries ago. So when we see white people critique, it makes it clear that racism serves as a distraction, while the real betrayal was economic, while elites got richer and working people, like other Black neighbors, were left behind. And I thought I'll open this discussion by talking about a reflection to what happened during the Black Arms Rebellion. Let's talk about the dangerous aftermath of refusing accountability. This moment of white self-criticism reveals the danger of refusing accountability. When white America avoids hard truth of its past and present, it creates a fertile ground for fascism, conspiracy theories, and political extremism. Trumpism was not a deviation. It was the logic result of decades of white grievance politics, media manipulation, and historical amnesia. Remember, you've seen white people warning that without acknowledgement, healing is impossible, and without healing, collapse becomes inevitable. Those house divided against itself is now burning, and those who lead the march still refuse to believe they had anything to do with the fire. Now, an urgent call for moral rebirth. This is not just a condemnation, it is a plea. The white man's call to his people is a call for moral rebirth. He urges white Americans to let go of supremacy, embrace humility, and join in the creation of new social contract. This involves reparation, truth-telling, and the dismantling of systems designed to oppress it. It means choosing justice over dominance, equity over entitlement. It does not seek to shame, but to awaken. For America to survive, it must become a different kind of nation, one that values life over prosperity, people over profits, and solidarity over supremacy. Lastly, I would like to talk about Black America was right all along. The final point made is perhaps the most difficult for many white Americans to accept. Black people were right, from slavery to mass incarceration, from police brutality to wealth inequality. Black communities have been truth tellers, sounding the alarm about the rot in the America's soul. But instead of being listened to, they were criminalized, vilified, and gaslit. Now, as the country teeters, those ignored voices must be elevated. This white man is not a hero. He is a latecomer into a conversation that has been going on for centuries, but his clarity still useful. The path to America's salvation runs through very communities it once tried to destroy. I'm your host and presenter Eugene Duke Stories. But until then, let me see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.